Thank you so much for inviting me today to this conference, and thank you, Sovereign Health Group, for this cutting-edge webinar format. I'm very excited to be here. So we'll start out with just a little fun. Part of my history is working on the VH1 show, Celebrity Rehab, and you see me here in a picture with Dr. Drew Pinsky. He is the addictionologist who is the person that ran Celebrity Rehab on VH1. And we also did some spin-offs, which were Sober House and Celebrity Rehab Sex Addiction. And that was a lot of fun, and this is a picture of us at the family program. So where did I get this idea of mixing positive psychology and metaphysics and Buddhism and mindfulness in recovery? It started out when I first saw the movie The Secret. The Secret was a movie about law of attraction. I guess we would say it wasn't exactly the most clinical movie in the world, but I decided to show it to some clients at a rehab, and I could not believe the outcome. The participants, the clients that were at this particular rehab absolutely loved the movie. It inspired them, it gave them hope, and as you know, when you're first getting off drugs and alcohol, and you're struggling in a detox situation with all the different symptomology that happens with that, anything that inspires them is always a really positive thing. So they loved the movie, and they loved the idea that what they hope for, wish for, think about could actually come true. It actually could transform their life. The only problem with the movie The Secret was it didn't really have action steps, and it really wasn't a clinical sort of movie, but it was inspiring. So I decided to take that idea and combine some other clinical approaches like mindfulness, CBT, positive psychology, and I created the book, The Law of Sobriety. So what is the idea of the metaphysical piece? You'd almost think that it sounds a little woo-woo, but it's actually, when you work with addicts and alcoholics, they love this idea that what you ask for, if you believe in it, you will receive it. So what's missing is basically the action steps. So you ask the universe, we know that when we work with addicts and alcoholics, sometimes they're not always up to going to a 12-step meeting. They may not believe in a God. And so sometimes when you use these other approaches, this other verbiage, and again, it's a little cutting edge, and it's a little bit, it definitely doesn't sound very clinical, but when you actually look at it, it really is, really is CBT, only you're just using different verbiage, and you're talking about looking at things from the universe. And sometimes people that don't necessarily believe in a, quote, God will really like this idea of the universe. And so you say the universe, what is it I want in my sobriety? What do I believe in? What do I have faith that can occur? And of course, by doing the action, I shall receive it. As you can see here, what I'm saying in this slide is that it's a blend of the law of attraction, metaphysics, and positive psychology. What you think is what you bring into your life. What you put out into the universe is what comes back to you. Because we are spiritual beings, there is this infinite intelligence. Some of the practices that I use with my clients to access this infinite intelligence is things like mindfulness, meditation, positive affirmations, and journaling. We know that the point of power is in the now. So our infinite intelligence responds to us when we're true to our own nature, when we're authentic. And so it's all about helping clients getting to the truth of who they are and what they believe in. So basically, this is really CBT. Our thoughts are the engine and our emotions are the fuel. What we put out into the universe in terms of energy and action is what we get back. I mean, if you look at any 12-step meeting, that is a room of the law of attraction. They're putting in there, they're in that meeting and they're putting out what it is they desire, and that is sobriety, and that is what they're going to receive. So it isn't that I'm really not reinventing the wheel. I'm just using different verbiage. And when you work with young clients today that are struggling with addiction, they absolutely love this sort of verbiage. It speaks to them. New Age thinking really isn't new. It's thousands and thousands of years old. You look at prana. Prana is known as cosmic energy. That's about the way the breath transforms us. Balanced chi makes better health. Karma is all about action. Our words and actions create the karma of our lives. Judaism and Christianity talk about the power of faith. That's what brings in positivity. So all these old ways of thinking is really the same as it's been around forever. It's just calling it something different. The science of mind. To live successfully, you choose positive thoughts. So really, you're basically integrating spiritual truth and physics. And then Louise Hayes, who is one of our modern day New Age thinkers, she wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life. So she always talked about positive thoughts can be the gateway to healing your body. So what you put out into the universe, what you think, can help heal the body. Deepak Chopra always talks about the law of attraction. He talks about the field of potentiality, where our infinite wisdom lies. It's things that we don't see maybe with our senses, but it exists anyway. So the law of sobriety has helpful tools but basically the end of every chapter of the book, The Law of Sobriety, and we'll go into that today in the presentation, are different tools that you can use with your clients, such as positive meditation, positive affirmations, meditation, and journaling. And those are the tools that you can use to sort of access this infinite, quote, wisdom. So what is journaling? Journaling is about silencing the internal editor. There is no right or wrong way. It's writing down whatever you want, whatever comes to your mind. You want to write in a very non-judgmental, compassionate way. Journaling helps release emotions that are related to old traumas. It helps you access your dreams and hopes and purpose. Meditation. What are the different kinds of meditation? You know, I believe that sometimes when someone is new in recovery, guided visualizations can be really effective. Listening to a really kind and compassionate voice and just relaxing and breathing and listening to someone else's kind and compassionate words can be really helpful. Some people want to take that to the next level and just want to breathe and just be still. So it's really about not pushing for anything, not striving for anything, not stuffing anything, just letting whatever comes and goes, whatever thoughts come and go, just allow them to be there. And then positive affirmations are statements that describe what you want to happen. It's sort of turning the negative into positive. You're training your mind to stop bombarding yourself with all these negative thoughts. So what is it that you want to say? Do you want to wake up in the morning and say, oh, I can't find that job, or I'll never be able to find a job, or I won't be able to, you want to turn around that negative and you want to turn it into something positive, such as a job is coming to me, or I allow a great job to appear, or employees love to work with me, or employers want to hire me. In other words, it's turning around the way you think of things. And again, that's really like CBT, but we're calling it here positive affirmations. Here's how I fuse together the law of sobriety, or Metaphysic meets recovery. The law of sobriety is basically my book. Here's the framework of using the different principles of the law of sobriety. So you're taking law of attraction, which we've talked about briefly, which is the energy you put into the universe is what you get back. I added positive psychology, CBT, and DBT, and these are components all together is what basically Metaphysic meets recovery is all about. We know that the law of attraction, again, has been around for thousands of years. It was known as the law of infinity. Didn't really become popular to the early 1900s, where it was called the New Thought movement. Basically, the reality of our life is related to the thoughts we put out into the universe, conscious and unconscious. And we want our thoughts to be congruent. So what we say or what we believe has to be what is inside of us. In other words, if you say something and you believe something different, there is no congruency. So you want to make sure that always your thoughts and what you believe are on the same wavelength. We attract back to ourselves what we put out into the universe, basically the energy of our emotion and the energy of our thoughts. So again, it's what you're feeling and what you're saying and what you're thinking all need to match. If you're emanating joy and peace and serenity and all of those emotions, that's what you're going to get back. When you're projecting fear and rage, you're just going to be creating more of that. We create our realities. If you look at the life that you're living, that is based on the thoughts that you put out into the universe. If you're living in lack, you're going to receive lack. If you're living in abundance, you're going to receive abundance. I often say to my clients, how have you been living your life as addicts and alcoholics? What are the choices you've been making? That reality is the choices you're making is the reality you're living in. Change your choices, change your thoughts, change your belief systems, and your reality will change. So again, it's about putting out to the universe what it is that you desire, and also taking the action steps to get that which you desire. Do you want new friends? Do you want a new relationship? Do you want a new job? Do you want to have friends in recovery? What are the choices that you're making, and what are you thinking about regarding those choices? That is what you're creating. And it's really important to help people understand that the way they're living their lives now, if it's not what it is they've wanted to achieve, there is much more to achieve other than the way they're living. The circumstances of their lives are so much greater than what they see. When we learn how to consciously control what we think, we're no longer controlled by our own negativity or by ideas about ourselves. We can then raise the level of thought, and we can attract a happiness and serenity back to ourselves. So really, we're using the law of attraction, and I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again, as sort of a metaphor. It's sort of another way of looking at things. We want to meet our clients where they're at, and sometimes a client is very resistant. They have multiple relapses, nothing's working for them, and so this is just another approach, another way to connect with our clients. I love the idea of positive psychology. One idea inherent in the law of attraction is that the way you look at your lives, if you are happier, you bring more of that into your life. Positive psychology is the scientific study of the strengths, and there are certain strengths that if we live within these strengths, those things come back to us. So what are some of those strengths? Some of those strengths include kindness, fairness, authenticity, living in gratitude, open-mindedness, zest, gratitude, hope, love. The more you live these strengths, the more you bring those things back into your life. They have found that people who are happier, are more fulfilled, they have more friends, they're more social, they're filled with gratitude and love, and then they end up attracting back to themselves both health, success, and social camaraderie. So again, positive psychology is actually scientifically based. Law of attraction isn't, but isn't it really saying the same thing? It's basically saying that the most commonly endorsed strengths contribute to the fulfillment of your life. So some of the things that positive psychology espouses to that allow you to have a more creative, happy, and serene life are things like wisdom and knowledge. I'm sure by now you've all seen this slide. It's been up for a while, but some of the things, learning and applying insight, artistic achievement, embracing curiosity, creating a picture. So I love to suggest to my clients submitting a blog, starting a WordPress blog, listening to speakers, lectures, doing things like right now, webinars, things that you don't always do but they inspire you. Ask questions, learn about their insights, discover new places, read new books. I love Audible, listening to tapes on Audible. All of these things change the brain chemistry by having positive things in your life that you're listening to. Courage. Doing this webinar is very courageous for me, so encouraging your clients to do courageous acts, to keep persevering, staying the course in spite of obstacles, embracing integrity, honesty, speaking the truth, enthusiasm, approaching life with excitement and energy, speaking publicly. A lot of people have fear around speaking publicly, but when you do these things, when you walk through them, great things occur. This is all what positive psychology is about. It's having these things constantly within your reach. Speaking up for unpopular ideas that you believe in. Publicly admit when you're wrong. Notice when you inhibit yourself because you're afraid to speak. Appreciate your genuineness at the end of the day. Go out of your way to get more involved in an organization or volunteer work. Love, valuing close reciprocal relationships. Relationships are very important. Kindness, generosity, social, personal, emotional intelligence, being aware of others' motives, and knowing how to be social, acceptable in different situations. Expressing love with notes, e-cards, giving a hug, savoring the moment. These are all, performing acts of random kindness, trying to see the virtues in others, not judging, not being judgmental, looking at people with fairness, treating all people the same, encouraging a group to get things done, but at the same time having positive relationships with them, picking up that litter that you see, volunteering. All these things promote positive actions into the universe, which provide positive results. Letting someone speak without passing judgment, staying impartial in an argument. And then temperance, forgiveness, humility, not regarding oneself as more special, being on equal footing, not saying or doing things that you might later regret, self-control, and regulating one's feelings and emotions. And just seeing things from another person's perspective, practicing forgiveness, gratitude. When someone does something you find uncomfortable, try to understand his or her intention. Again, just having a really non-judgmental, compassionate stand towards somebody else and not gossiping. These are all the virtues that you want to help your clients espouse in order to bring more positivity and to attract into their lives that which they desire. Transcendence, noticing the beauty in nature, even simple things like walking your dog and watching your dog. Notice what your dog is noticing. That's one way to actually kind of go on to another spiritual level, seeing the subtle energies in the universe, the everyday experiences, gratitude, optimism, expecting the best, playfulness, spirituality, having a sense of person, believing that you have a higher purpose, that you have a calling in this world. Picking out really moving music, sound therapy, and just really listening with appreciation And always having a journal by your side. You know, even one thing that really works well is taking your iPhone and every couple of hours having something that reminds you to be grateful about something, having some kind of alarm that reminds you to journal about what it is that you're grateful for. Write something that inspires you, keeping a gratitude journal, saying thank you more often, smiling at people, trying to see the optimistic side of things rather than what's so difficult. You're basically trying to find actions that take away the negative and bring in the positive. Reviewing lessons of bad decisions you've made, you know, not beating yourself or judging yourself, just reviewing them and looking at them and learning from them. And visualizing things that you want, using a vision board, taking a big board and cutting out magazine things of things that you want. For instance, I wanted to canoe a few years ago. I made a vision board of me speaking, of writing a book, of putting up canoeing, of having a grandbaby, of finding a relationship, you know, having this vision board, something you can look at all the time. These are the ways you attract into your life that which you desire. It's always having it in front of you. Thinking about the purpose of your life and praying. Before I did this webinar, I asked my higher power to be here with me when I did this webinar. Having spiritual books always around you, meditating or contemplating the virtues you've developed. Really, you know, patting yourself on the back and saying, well, I really changed up some things by adding new virtues and strengths into my life. Some of the cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, I think I'm going to sort of move this, I'm going to kind of move past this slide because I think a lot of us already know about CBT, and we've already sort of talked about writing in a journal, but I think journal writing is really one of the most effective. It's the practice of maintaining a diary, trying to keep the negative out, but just having sort of a stream of ideas, the thoughts which are associated with these situations, and the behavior exhibited in response to them are also mentioned in the diary. Guided discovery is sort of what I talked about earlier. The objective purpose behind using this technique is to help the client, enable him to understand his cognitive distortions. Modeling. These are, again, CBT approaches that we all know about already, but I'll go over it. It's one of the cognitive behavioral therapy techniques in which the therapist performs role-playing exercises, which are aimed at responding in an appropriate way to overcome difficult situations. The client makes use of this behavior of the therapist as a model in order to solve the problems he comes across. And then finally, homework assignments. In my book, The Law of Sobriety, every chapter has different questions and answers. You know, having your client go home, answer these questions, meditate on the answers to these questions. Some of the DBT approaches that I love using are core mindfulness skills, interpersonal effectiveness skills, emotion regulation skills, and distress tolerance skills. So where does core mindfulness come from? It actually comes from Buddhism. It's the balance between the logical mind and the emotional mind. So if you were to picture three circles, you have a logical mind on one side, you have an emotional mind on the other, and then you have the wise mind in the middle. So it's basically navigating between those two and coming up with the wise mind. Addicts are often distracted by their thoughts. So the wise mind is sort of a balance between the intuitive knowing, something that you know while experiencing it logically. And what are interpersonal skills? Addicts have unrealistic ideas of what others can do and tend to put others on a pedestal, and then they feel inadequate. So interpersonal skills are trying to be effective in your life, you know, trying to make effective decisions while not damaging those relationships. Emotion regulation skills. Experience emotions without judging. So allowing your feelings to come and go, not blocking, not repressing, not distracting, not pushing them away, just allowing them to be there. Knowing that life can be painful, but we don't have to suffer. Suffering is secondary emotions that you attach to your pain. You are not your emotions. What are distress hormones? The ability to tolerate and accept distress. You accept you're a part of some cosmic process. Things are happening for a reason. So you have a reverence for it, and you stop resisting reality. When you resist what is, you're resisting the universe. So it's basically saying to somebody, look at the universe we live in, look at the stars, the ocean, the plants, the trees. It's all there for a reason. So everything is there for a reason. We don't always know what that reason is, but it is supposed to be there. So basically what I had said earlier is all of these CBT, DBT, positive psychology, law of attraction, that is what metaphysics meets recovery is, or the law of sobriety. So these are some of the ideas. This is when we get to the nuts and bolts of what the concepts are and how to work with your clients. These are the different steps. Finding your purpose with intention. So that's helping your clients figure out why are they here, what is their calling, what is their purpose, and then looking at their values, like living a life that's true to your values. So basically making decisions in your life that match what your values are, being authentic to who you are, learning to live in appreciation, forgiveness, and compassion, living a life of right action, living with awareness and mindfulness, and learning to let go of resistance and attachments. The Law of Sobriety takes the principles of the law of attraction and puts them to work for a specific purpose, to help individuals recover from addiction, sort of like finding something to replace the addiction with, and that's where purpose comes in. You're taking certain action steps and you're applying energy. You're taking those action steps to make an amazing life possible. The goal of Metaphysic meets recovery, or the Law of Sobriety, is to take actions in recovery that not only brings sobriety, but having a life that's full of purpose. So many of my clients will have years of sobriety, and yet they're sort of stuck. And so it's why are you stuck? It's probably because maybe it's time to change what it is you're doing in your life. Maybe it's changing a career. Maybe it's changing a relationship. Maybe it's changing your environment. Maybe you need to add exercise, healthy habits to your life. Maybe it's finding some new spirituality in your life. These are the things that I think keep people stuck, and I think a lot of relapse is related to that. In other words, you can only go so far with the 12 steps, then it's time to sort of evolve and move beyond the 12 steps and to figure out what's next in your journey of recovery. So the first step is finding purpose with intention. So it's learning how to live on purpose. What is your purpose? You're not just talking about living in a sober state, you're also talking about pursuing what it is that you love to do. Discovering your life purpose is probably one of the most important events or breakthroughs I think anybody can make. That's because deciding why you're here and what gives your life meaning keeps you on track and enables you to choose where to put your energy. So if you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know where to put your energy. So I find that finding purpose is one of the most valuable steps of this whole process. Values. So values are about what is it that what are your values? If you're making decisions that don't align with your values, you can't possibly allow the law of attraction to work. If you're hanging around the wrong friends, the wrong environment, what is it that you value? If you value having a healthy baby one day, but you're still binging and purging, how do you expect to have that happen? So how are you actually living your life? What is it that you value, and how are you living your life, and are they matching? Again, there has to be this congruency. And it's also about being accountable for your actions. Your actions and the consequences of them are are not the result of chance or luck, but rather they're a direct result of the values that you live by. Do you want to be more social? Are you going out more? Are you going to fellowship after meetings? What is it? Are you looking for a new career? Are you applying for jobs? Or are you just staying home and watching TV? So what is it that you value? What is it you want in your life? But what are the actions you're taking to get there? If you're not living a life that's true to your values, there's a good chance that your clients are going to feel dissatisfied, depressed, angry, and frustrated because they're not living in alignment with what they value. You'll have very little energy to pursue what it is you desire, whether it's relationships, work, spiritual life, health and wellness, and of course recovery. So it's basically figuring out what are your values around these different issues. What do you value in a relationship? Do you value honesty? Do you value someone treating you with respect, and yet you keep going back to bad relationships? What if you're somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur, but you keep working for somebody else? So what is it you want in your work life, and how are you changing that? Spiritual life, have you found something that you actually believe in, or do you keep going back to old places that no longer align to what your spiritual belief system is? Health and wellness, you want to feel healthy, but you're not eating correctly, or you're not exercising. So when your values or your clients' values align with their true essence, they're doing things that are really good for them and that they truly enjoy, they can reach the goals that they hope to achieve for themselves. Everybody has unique talents. Everybody has a purpose. It's important to help you to work with your clients to uncover what it is that they love doing, what makes them feel whole, what makes them smile. It can be really simple things. It could be about creating a really great, happy family life. It could be about starting an instrument, writing, working in a garden. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just taking small little baby steps towards what it is that feels good, what feels authentic. Because in order for law of attraction to work, is what you're doing on the inside has to match the outside. So you have to live authentically and do things that feel authentic to you in order for great things to occur. Your gifts come in the form of authenticity. It expresses who you truly are. And when you find out what it is that you love, you'll absolutely know it. It will bring it's what's going to bring you the most inner joy, your clients' inner joy, inner peace, freedom, and exhilaration. And authenticity is about being really honest with who you are and living authentically and making decisions that are authentically. When you live authentically, the energy of who you are on the inside will be expressed on the outside. Behaving in an authentic manner is the only way for your true self to emerge. If you have spent years lying and hiding from yourself, this may not be easy for you. What you need to remember is that not living a life of authenticity carries a very high cost, while living in truth brings huge benefits. I think of the idea is that we're as sick as our secrets. It's about uncovering who you really are, taking off that mask, taking away, putting away that false image that you think you're supposed to be. Often clients that I work with that come from alcoholic families had to hide a lot of what was going on if they came from a neglectful family, if they came from an abusive family. And those defenses work for a while. Eventually you've got to uncover, and you've got to let all of that go and be who you really are. Obviously, when you're using drugs or alcohol, you're living in a vortex of lying. That, of course, has to stop. In some situations, lying may have been easier. Maybe growing up, that's what you needed to do in order to cover up what was going on in your home. But hiding your truth do make you feel defensive, fearful, angry, and a lot of shame. If you can escape the vortex of lying and access who you really are, the Law of Sobriety says you'll awaken to your true nature. No matter what the circumstances, you'll be aligned with your true self. This is what it means to live a life of authenticity. So I cannot say it enough that how you act and what you believe is the way the law of attraction works. When you're authentic in your beliefs and you're congruent in how you feel and what you put out, definitely goals can be achieved. So these are three concepts that are all intertwined: appreciation, forgiveness, and compassion. So that's why I was talking earlier about having gratitude. I think it's really important to live in appreciation. It means living so that you fully appreciate your life. The Law of Sobriety says you should begin appreciating the gifts of your sobriety, even if you haven't fully achieved sobriety. It's being happy exactly where you are right now. The more you appreciate, the more you have to appreciate. Basically, the more you're grateful for, the more things come into your life to be grateful for. To live your life in appreciation, you must first learn to forgive yourself, have radical forgiveness for yourself, for all the mistakes, and forgive others. Not having forgiveness just puts out more negative energy, and so we're trying to eliminate that negative energy. So it's having huge radical forgiveness for yourself and for others who've caused you emotional pain. And forgiveness stems from having incredible compassion. You cannot forgive until you develop a profound compassion for yourself and others, and understand that those who came to your life were put there for a reason. There were no accidents. Everything in your life are lessons. They were all meant to be, and to navigate through that and to realize no point in going back to that place, living in that place, that you're just going to resonate more negativity. It's about knowing that those things happen for a reason. Living a life of right action means acting in accordance with who you're truly meant to be, not doing just what is not doing what is right, but doing what is right for you. It's about kind of taking the shoulds out. I should do this, I should do that. It's about doing what is right for you, what is right for your authenticity to emerge. To live a life of right action, it's imperative to ask yourself whether the choices you're making align with your goals. What is it that you want in your life, not what others think is best for you? Addicts and alcoholics are often suffering from low self-esteem, so it's really important to realize that until you raise your sense of self-worth, you'll continue to attract negative results into your life. The Law of Sobriety says you get what you expect to get. It's therefore vital to exercise your muscle of self-respect. When you respect yourself and the path you're on, even if it's difficult, even if there's a lot of rejection, you don't give up on what it is that you believe is right action for yourself. Knowing that there is something better, knowing that everything that's happened to you, there's so much more than the circumstances of your past and maybe the way you're living right now. There's something so much greater. You build your self-respect by following the path that's yours and yours alone. And mindfulness means being aware only of the moment you're in, without thinking about the past or the future or getting caught up in opinions or judgments about what's going on. Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and without judgment. So the question is, how do you have mindfulness if you're thinking about what it is you desire for the future? That is just wherever you are, that's where you are. If you're thinking about what it is that you desire, you're being mindful in that moment. Mindfulness provides a simple but powerful route for getting ourselves unstuck and back in touch with our own wisdom and vitality. Living mindfully on purpose is about a life fully lived with each breath you take. Each moment is meaningful and joyful because you're being the authentic person you're meant to be. All the choices and actions you take are done thoughtfully, with your values and goals at the forefront of your mind. Living mindfully on purpose enables you to live in gratitude each and every moment in whatever way the moment unfolds. The energy of mindfulness emerges when you stop grasping for what you think you don't have and accept what you have in this very moment. The final step of the Law of Sobriety is learning to let go of resistance and attachments. Let go of the attachment to the idea that your life ought to be a certain way, and let go of the resistance to who you really think you should be. When you live with the Law of Sobriety as your guidepost, you're able to deal with whatever is in front of you because you're not attached. Things you can dream and you can have a vision of what you hope things to be. You don't have to get attached to it. It may turn out differently, and that's okay. When you let go of the way you believe things are supposed to be, you free yourself from negativity, the perpetual disappointment, doubt, and frustration that comes when things don't turn out as you thought they would be. That's really what Deepak Chopra talks about. He talks about infinite possibilities. Anything is possible. You just keep putting it out there, and you don't get disappointed if it doesn't turn out the way it doesn't turn out exactly how you think it's supposed to turn out, because something even greater is going to turn out. When you let go of your attachments to a false sense of who you are and what your life should be, you invite positive energy into your life. If you continue believing that the next time you use drugs or drink, the outcome will be different, we call that temporary insanity. You're refusing to accept the part of your true self that cannot control your alcohol or drugs. Instead, you're embracing a false self that does not embody your authentic nature. Acknowledging the reality of your disease is not a prison sentence, but it's a personal truth. It's so important to recognize who you truly are, making the shift from wanting things to be different to being honest with yourself about how things truly are enables you to take actions that are constructive and energizing. Only when you make that shift can you attract all that you desire in life. So I have a website with a lot more tools and tips. This was just very, very minimal here at wakeuprecovery.com. Also right now I'm putting on a summit of 17 guests at recoverytodaysummit.com. That's recoverytodaysummit.com. I have 17 guests all talking. They're addiction professionals, spiritual masters, leaders in the transformation movement. They talk a lot about things like law of attraction, etc. You get that at recoverytodaysummit.com. And then if you want to take a really simple online course that really goes into these 7 steps, actually has 10 steps, you can go to wakeuprecovery.com. Very hard to fit in an hour of what I have in that program. That program is 10 hours of audio. I do meditations, I give journaling exercises, positive affirmation exercises. It's very, very much, this is really just a small piece of what Wake Up Recovery has. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Now we're going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. And as a reminder, you can still submit your question through the question pane in your attendee control panel. Okay, Sherry, the first question is from the attendee named Ida, and the question is, telling a person who has been traumatized things happen for a reason is cruel. Use Viktor Frankl's approach for finding meaning of what happens.
I totally agree with her. I totally agree that I don't know how exactly I said it, but I guess what she's trying to tell me is that is not how you want to phrase it. And I do know Viktor Frankl's work. It's finding the gems of what has happened to us. It's finding what has happened to us and finding a purpose for it and bettering your life. In other words, Viktor Frankl, he basically took something that was horrific and turned it into having a very, 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 very amazing, meaningful life and spreading amazing insight and wisdom to the psychology field. So, in essence, what he did was he took a horrific experience and made something positive out of it. That's how I see it. I'm sorry if I offended you in how I phrased it, but I do believe everything does happen for a reason. I believe that in my own life, if I wouldn't have been a single parent, I wouldn't have become a therapist. If I wouldn't have worked at a certain treatment center, it wouldn't have led to writing a book. If I wouldn't have met this person, everything that has happened in my life has happened for a reason. So I actually believe that. So I'm so sorry if that offended anybody.
Thank you, Sherry. Now, we have a comment by John Denawal. He loved those 7 steps that you spoke about, which is very good. It was a good session. And now I'm coming up with the next question by Elmari Tullo. And the question is, what is the best way to accept a life that you do not want to live?
It's knowing that there's something so much greater than this, than the way you're living, that there are, is to have, that's where faith comes in. It's having a belief that there's something so much greater, and it doesn't have to be the reality that you're in right now, but what are the steps you can take to have that reality? What is it you're doing? You know, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's knowing that we're so much more than what we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, that there's something, it's really going beyond the spiritual line. It's having the faith that something greater exists and helping our clients believe that something greater exists. That just the fact that they're sober, look how their life has improved so far. When they look, you know, it's having faith. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's believing we are so much more than the circumstances that we're in. I mean, yeah, that's the best way I can answer it. You know, these are all very new concepts. I know it's very difficult. Law of attraction is not a clinical term, so we're sort of having to broaden ourselves. You know, when you look at the 12 steps, the foundation is to be open and willing. So my only goal here is to work with people that are closed off from maybe a quote God, who don't have any desire to get sober. I'm hoping that I'll touch them in some way with new verbiage by letting them know that they do have a reason to be here, that they are purposeful, that they have a calling. That is my dream for every addict and alcoholic that walks through my doors that is resistant, that relapses chronically. I believe we have to replace the drugs and alcohol with something that's meaningful to somebody else. They have to have purpose. They have to have a calling. That is my desire. That is my only desire, is that somebody be passionate about the life that they're living. And so I'm trying, the point of this approach is to meet them maybe where they are, where other things have not worked for them, where they've been turned off by being told, you got to go to 12-step meetings. And again, I must say that I am a big believer in the 12 steps. I think it's the foundation. But I think that sometimes we have to meet someone with other sorts of concepts and ideas. And all I know is when I showed the movie The Secret, there was a lot of positivity in the room. And I showed that movie many times to many groups of people, and it made them feel inspired. And so if they can feel inspired and then take that inspiration and take action steps, I think anything is possible for any one of us.
So, Sherry, we have the last question here by Morrissey Brown. And the question is, do you think The Secret is appropriate for teens? How do you integrate The Secret with teens who wants to be religious in their faith?
Oh, I love that question. Well, first of all, you can still be religious and see the movie The Secret, because whatever their higher power is their higher power. You know, law of attraction is really about the energy of your actions. So higher power is the energy that you put out there. But yes, you can be religious. You can also believe in the law of attraction, because the law of attraction is basically just saying what you put out there is what you get. So I think it'd be amazing to have this concept with teens, to teach them that the actions they take, the friends they hang out with, the choices they make, the relationships they embark in, are they going to be promiscuous? And if they are, what do you? It's teaching them that whatever choices they make, that is the reality they're going to live in. And to look at their lives now. How are they living now, and what choices did they make that got them there? So I think it absolutely can work with teens, and I think it can inspire them to make better choices. And I do believe a person can be of any faith and still believe in the idea that what we do and say is what we bring back to our lives. You can still believe in a God or a Jesus or a Buddha or an Allah. That has nothing to do with the idea that what we put out there is what we get back by. The thoughts and the beliefs and our actions all create the reality that we live in.
Thank you, audience, for attending today's webinar. If you have any further questions, you may please send your queries at cu@soulhealth.com or webinar@soulhealth.com. Now, once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a thank you email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to even feedback form. And we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback. Now, in this email, you will also receive a recording of today's webinar. So this presentation will be available to watch after 72 hours. You will receive an email with all information pertaining to this webinar and how you earn one free CE soon. So thank you for participation, and we hope you found this information valuable. Goodbye, everyone.